Good evening. I'd like to call the village board meeting for the Village of Cary for November 7th, 2023 to order with roll call, please.
Stefani?
Here.
Collier?
Here.
McAlpine?
Here.
Dudek?
Here.
Weinhammer?
Here.
Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Tim's back. Thank you, sir. Yes. Now moving to the open forum where the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any matter of public concern not otherwise on the agenda. I have one individual sign in, Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon. David Miller, 65 Highway 14, Cary. I'd like to get the consent agenda item number M tabled for further discussion. It's about MCMPI. I applied for that position to it, and I don't think there was due diligence done on investigating what the other companies can do and not do. I was told that the other companies filled out the whole application that they could do everything, and I work with some of these companies, and they don't have the equipment to do what they said they can do. So I think it wasn't apples for apples. I'd like to discuss and address my point of what Lake Julian Contracting can do for that position too. So I wish they'd table that for further discussion, and I could talk to the Public Works Director, and because there's no interviews done on either any of the companies that applied for it.
Okay, when I get there, I'll see if I can get a motion to have that
Thanks.
pulled off for further discussion. Is there anybody else here who would like to address the village board? Would you come on up here and state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is John Startzel. I live at 114 Ann Street. And I've got a couple issues that we've tried to address with the village through the police department and through ordinance control. Or we've got some neighbors that live across the street that run a landscaping business. They've got cars coming and going all night. They've got lawnmowers starting at, to unload off their trailer, and we've been there for 15 years. They've been there since, I believe, 2018, and it's been nothing but trouble. We don't have a street light at the end of the street. We live right next to the village well, and it's been a couple of years since you guys sent out a mailing that everybody should turn their porch lights on and garage lights on, but your village building next door doesn't have any lights on. And we just kind of at our wits' end. We don't know what to do about the people across the street.
Okay, well, we can address this. We can put the right staff members together and have a discussion regarding this. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We have our Public Works Director that's here and our Chief of Police here as well, too. So offline, we can have a conversation and we can get back to you. If you could step up here for just a second and give me your, you don't want to announce your telephone number. What's your telephone? Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to address the village board? We'll go ahead and close open forum at 6:04. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and exclude M from the consent agenda, and I'm going to call that as a separate motion. So I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A through L and N through R.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Dudek,
Yes.
Stefani,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Just wing it on this. I will entertain a motion to consider for approval a resolution awarding contracts for the 2023 MCMPI Emergency Contractual Assistance Bid to Paramount Utility and Excavating Services, Crystal Lake, and Concept Plumbing Incorporated, Palatine, Illinois.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It was brought to our attention by a business owner with regards to the validity of some of the contractors for this particular bid. It's been brought to my attention that this was a sealed bid project, and if we were to do that, we would have to eliminate all the bids and rebid this out, and I believe it's time sensitive.
Yes, I mentioned to the mayor, we understand your request. This isn't really a forum in which we can consider changing the bid process. The specifications were issued. It was a sealed bid process. Those bids have been opened. We don't have the ability to discuss with one bidder whether or not we're going to adjust the bid process. So we would either have to award the bid this evening based on the recommendation, or reject all bids if the specifications allowed us to do that. And we have a basis for rejecting all bids. So my suggestion at this point is the process is complete and the bid needs to be awarded this evening.
My question was to it that the bid that they sent out for it requested prices on all these different operations. And we didn't fill out all the operations because there's some of those equipment I don't have. And then speaking to one of the other bidders who did it, put on there a bid price for something he doesn't own, and I don't understand how you could accept a bid from someone who doesn't have the qualification or equipment that he said he could do. And I don't think you have a quality,
Well,
I don't think you're doing apples for apples.
Understood.
It may be
I-
just the way it was written up doesn't
Right.
make sense to it, but I wasn't given a chance to clarify anything to it, and there was no interviews of the people you're awarding it to, which I think maybe you should at least interview the contractors.
I
see if
can't-
they actually have the equipment they say, because they put it on piece, I could
Sure.
put stuff on paper too, saying you do all this, but
Right, Mr. Miller, I understand.
Yeah.
So the staff has gone through the information related to the bids that were submitted.
right.
Uh,
But
they have
never
made-
interviewed to see if the bids that they were presented, they could actually do.
Right, they've made a recommendation.
Okay.
We don't have the ability to have any of the individuals or potential vendors that are part of this bid process appear before the board at this stage of our process.
That's why I
And,
wish you would
and
table it.
indicate that they want
Yeah.
us to change the process. The process is complete, and the bids have been submitted.
Okay.
They've been reviewed, and a recommendation has been made to the board.
Okay.
There are
I understand the
significant
recommendations, but I think
consequences for the,
recommendations
can I finish?
go ahead, I'm sorry.
There's significant consequences for the board at this point if we change our bid process based on input from, as I understand it, one of the bidders.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
my recommendation to the board at this point, just because we are where we are in the stage of the bidding process, that we act on the recommendations for award to the lowest bidder.
Mayor, if
I understand your concerns, so.
I'm sorry, if I may just give some background on this. This was a joint purchase, or through the McHenry County Council, joint purchasing initiative. So it involved multiple entities, and those other entities still have the ability to award it to Lake Julian. It's up to the individual entities, and what we found is best, because it was completely filled out by these two contractors. If we ran into an issue, which we ran into before, where we might need some of this equipment, and it's been bid out, so I'm sure Mr. Euler would agree that we could require that whether the contractor were to rent that or not. They've provided us a big cost for that, so
Right.
that's why we felt these two contractors would be best fit for the village.
you know, the bid proposal asked for, equipment that hourly rates for equipment that we could supply, and if you don't own it, how you can, you can't guarantee a third party to do the work for you. You know, that's, all right, I'm just thinking it was.
I
it wasn't
completely
wasn't
understand
very
what you're
well
saying, but this
apples
isn't
for
the,
apples, bid,
this
that's
isn't
all,
the
but-
forum for this discussion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
For us,
All right.
for us to be suggesting there's a problem with another bidder. That bidder's not here.
Well, I'm
So-
not
so
saying
that's
there's
another
with another
problem.
bidder. I'm just saying that you're not looking at apples for apples. I wish it would have known it was going to be brought up before this, before it was on consent agenda, that I could
Understood.
approach the staff and give them a little more information about what has happened in the past, that's all. Just want really
Got it.
very protected the best I can be.
Got it. Thank you.
I'm just going to add just real quickly, is this something that we can take into account moving forward, that if something's not clear, and even if we put on in the future bids, if you don't have this equipment, you know, obviously they have to be responsible for subcontracting out to do the work or the equipment? Or is that already, I mean, because that's, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I'm hearing that that's where Mr. Miller is feeling like, hey, I was straightforward, honest, saying I don't have this equipment, so I didn't put a bid on there. But had he known, or had he felt like, hey, if I can go and find out the price to subcontract for this job, or to subcontract for the, rent the equipment, then perhaps he would have filled out the bid process completely. I mean, I'm just saying in the future, I'm just, not now, I'm talking about in the future
Sure.
to
So
listen
the
to
wa-
this and say, can we make some adjustments?
So the way this should work is there has been a price quoted to the village as part of this bid process. So having committed to that number, the bidder must produce the service, the product, the equipment that the contract calls for, or the award calls for. So it really doesn't matter if they have the equipment. They're gonna have to produce the equipment at the cost that they have cited
I agree.
to the village.
I understand. I get it completely. I'm just saying, from the standpoint of someone bidding, coming up saying, I have a question, is there something that we can do in the future that might prohibit him from having the same challenges, the same questions? Because those, I understand his questions. If he didn't think, hey, I can't fill this out if I don't have this, I didn't know I could do that. That's all I'm coming up with in the future.
Yes, and absolutely. And every time we put a, I shouldn't say every time, 99% of the time we put a bid out, there's a question period where we put the bid out, the contractors have 10 days, 14 days, whatever it may be, to ask whatever questions that are not clarified in the bid documents. And we had that in this bid document. So if anybody who was interested in bidding had questions, we give that 10, 14-day period, and then we send an addendum clarifying any of those questions as well.
Not this bid change like 3 days before it was due? I got a revision to it just a few days before it was due.
It was initially put out as a proposal, and then because of a previous issue, but that comment period was in there. And one last thing, this is only for a 1-year period. We have an option to renew for 2 more. We can cancel that at any time. In talking with staff, this is for emergency services, something that we can't do. And my understanding is in the last 5 years, the village has only contracted out once. So it's not something that we intend to use very often. It's just worst case scenario, we don't have the staff to do it. We might never use it. So it's just there for emergencies.
Well, that was my question was, 'cause since it's basically an on-call service for emergency services to be provided, how, you just answered my question one time in the last few years doing it. So this is not something that's in perpetuity, but this is something that we could bring up to next time we do a bid opening on some, or we should have this clarified. We could work through our contacts with the county and make sure that, make sure that people are being heard and that they have the clarifications that they need.
And if I add, this doesn't preclude us from getting proposals or quotes in an emergency situation from other contractors. This just gives us a few that have predefined rates, so we know what our costs are on a moment's notice. But like I mentioned, we could expand that if we have time or if we have a need. It doesn't limit us to just these 2.
So there's still a chance to add other contractors. Okay. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Stefani,
Yes.
Dudek,
Yes.
Moving on to administrator's report. Director Morimoto.
Nothing this evening. I'll pass the baton to the rest of staff for some updates.
Okay. Chief Finland.
Nothing today other than I think they have the Mary Carey Parade up there, and we closed the streets today in our actions by the village board.
Do you want to talk about what's happening tomorrow?
I could if you wish.
Sure.
We're going to have a ribbon cutting at the Regional Training Center, the McHenry County Regional Training Center, which is the old Village Hall Police Department. So we'll have representatives there from the 5 agencies that are partners, and yourself and the chairman of the McHenry County Board. And hopefully we can showcase the firearms range, at least its current state, which has all the walls up now. So you get a very good perspective in regards to how big the building is.
Yes, it's enormous. I mean, it doesn't even look like home anymore. It's completely different. They even removed staircases. Crazy. Anyway, it's very cool. But thank you for that update. Director Noonan?
A brief update on Rotary Park. We got a nice picture here of where we are at if nobody's been down there. The columns have been wrapped with masonry work. The mason's starting to work on the fireplace. He expects that to be completed within the next week or so.
Great. Any update on my favorite project?
Yes, downtown they are, the bike racks have been installed. They're working on the monument sign, and the benches, they'll be working on those as well. We got notification from ComEd today that they are working to expedite a date on when they will make that utility connection for the lights to be turned on. Once I have that date, it will be in the weekly report, or
Okay.
I'll pass that along to the administrator.
Yeah, people are getting tense. No, just a lot of the business owners are like, okay, enough is enough. Kelly, you probably have nothing for us right now because you're going to be living your glory in a minute or two.
Yeah,
right?
nothing right now.
Yeah. Shit. Brian, Director Simmons. All right. Any future agenda items or discussion by the village board? None said. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 6:17.